Queensland's housing crisis is sparking a new property trend, with more families interested in living under the one roof to pool resources.
It's like peeling an onion. For families in this unit block, the more they look, the more problems they find.
Big investors have already bailed, unloading homes by the thousands, while regular buyers choke on sky-high mortgage payments. The smart money is gone, supply is piling up, and affordability is dead. But here's the catch. This crash isn't hitting everywhere at once. A handful of cities are ground zero for the shift. Stick with me because we're counting down the 10 markets where nobody's buying, where inventory is exploding, and where 2025 is shaping up to be the worst housing crash in decades. Number 10. Charlotte, North Carolina. The banking capital of the South just hit a $412 billion housing bubble that's about to burst. Here's the kicker. Families earning $85,758 now spend 44% of their income just on housing. That's 14 percentage points above what federal experts consider safe, and it's getting worse every month. Charlotte's median home price jumped to $430,000, but the warning signs are flashing red. Year-over-year prices dropped 0.1% in March, marking the beginning of a downward spiral. From their peak, values are already down 1%, but that's just the appetizer. The main course of financial pain is coming. Here's what's really terrifying. Investor buying collapsed 61% as institutional money flees the market faster than NASCAR drivers at Talladega. When BlackRock and other Wall Street giants run for the exits, regular buyers can't fill the gap. They're the smart money. They see the crash coming from miles away. But wait, it gets worse. The Atlanta Federal Reserve data shows Charlotte-Concord Gastonia homes have been completely out of reach for average families since 2022. Construction cranes tower over every neighborhood, building tomorrow's foreclosure inventory. New apartment construction is flooding the market, with builders expecting zero rent growth. The Queen City built its housing throne on sand. When Bank of America and Wells Fargo employees can't afford homes in their own banking capital, you know the end is near. The financial center that was supposed to rival Atlanta just became another cautionary tale of pandemic-era excess meeting economic reality. Charlotte's housing market isn't just cooling, it's entering a deep freeze that'll make winter in the Carolinas look tropical. Number 9. Denver, Colorado. Mile-high prices are coming back down to earth faster than a failed space launch. Denver's seeing brutal year-over-year declines of 1.8%, with prices already down 7.2% from their 2022 peak. But here's what should terrify every homeowner. Housing inventory exploded 90% year-over-year, while sales dropped like a rock thrown off Pikes Peak. The tech boom that drove Denver's housing frenzy? It's deader than disco. Remote work policies killed the need to pay premium prices for expensive mountain living when you can work from anywhere. Tesla, Google, and Amazon all announced layoffs. And suddenly that six-figure tech salary doesn't go as far in a $700,000 suburb. Here's the brutal reality check. Investors fled Denver with the same urgency they showed in other collapsing markets. Smart money sees the avalanche coming, literally and figuratively. When you combine mile-high home prices with mile-high interest rates, basic math becomes everyone's enemy. But wait, there's more economic carnage ahead. Colorado's state budget crisis is forcing government hiring freezes and project cancellation. The aerospace industry faces federal spending cuts. Cannabis businesses that drove early growth are consolidating or closing entirely. The economic pillars holding up Denver's housing market are crumbling simultaneously. Local residents who thought they'd struck gold watching their home values double are now watching their equity evaporate faster than snow in July. Properties that sold for $800,000 in 2022 can't find buyers at $650,000 today. Colorado's high just became a financial low that's spreading through mountain communities like wildfire. The altitude sickness affecting Denver's housing market is terminal, and there's no oxygen mask for homeowners caught in this economic death spiral. Number 8. Orlando, Florida. The Magic Kingdom's housing market is losing its spell faster than Cinderella at midnight. Orlando ranks as the third best market for buyers nationwide with 6.9 months of supply, a complete reversal from the seller's market insanity that defined the pandemic years. Prices are down 4.4% from peak, with year-over-year declines of 2.7% and accelerating. Disney World brings 58 million visitors annually, but that tourist magic isn't translating to home buyers anymore. Florida saw the biggest inventory surge in the entire country, up 35% year over year. The Sunshine State's pandemic boom turned into a supply glut nightmare that's drowning local markets. The economics are brutal and simple. Theme park workers earning $35,000 to $45,000 can't afford $500,000 starter homes. Even Disney's famous magic can't conjure affordable housing from thin air. Resort workers are sleeping in cars, cramming 8 people into 2-bedroom apartments, or leaving Central Florida entirely. Here's the devastating detail most people miss. Orlando's population growth has slowed dramatically as housing costs pushed out the service workers who make the tourism economy function. Restaurants, hotels, and attractions can't find staff because nobody can afford to live within commuting distance. It's an economic death spiral disguised as a tourist paradise. But wait, it gets worse. Florida's insurance crisis hit Orlando especially hard. Hurricane Ian and Nicole proved that 100-year storms now happen every few years. Insurance premiums doubled, then tripled, then became unavailable entirely in some neighborhoods. When you can't insure a home, you can't sell it either. The city built on dreams just became a financial nightmare. Even Mickey Mouse couldn't save this housing market from the economic reality check that's coming for every overpriced Florida city. Number 7, Phoenix, Arizona. The desert is burning, and we're not talking about the 120-degree summers anymore. Phoenix is officially losing people for the first time since the Great Recession, with net domestic migration plummeting from 32,600 in 2022 to negative 1,800 in 2024. Home prices dropped 1.1% year over year to $445,000. But that's just the beginning of this market meltdown. Active listings nearly quadrupled from pandemic lows, exploding to 14,767 units, while buyer demand disappeared. When nobody wants to move to your city and everyone's desperately trying to sell, basic economics becomes a sledgehammer to property values. Phoenix prices have already fallen 10.5% from their peak, and the avalanche is just starting. The Arizona dream became a financial desert wasteland. Water shortages aren't theoretical anymore. They're rationing usage and raising rates monthly. Summer electric bills routinely hit $400 to $600 for modest homes. Climate change made Phoenix literally unlivable for 4 months per year without massive energy costs. But here's what's really crushing the market. The tech companies that relocated during the pandemic are quietly reversing course. Intel delayed their $20 billion facility expansion. Tesla's Gigafactory plans scaled back. Remote work policies let employees escape to cheaper, cooler climates without sacrificing their careers. Meanwhile, construction costs skyrocketed while builder margins collapsed. New home inventory sits at levels not seen since the last housing crash. Mortgage rates above 6% mean buyers need incomes over $150,000 for median-priced homes in a city where median household income barely reaches $60,000. If you're starting to see how fragile these markets really are, just wait. Because the top 5 cities on this list make Phoenix look stable. Before we dive in, hit subscribe so you don't miss our breakdowns on where the housing crash is spreading next. Number 6, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. Everything's supposed to be bigger in Texas, except buyer demand just shrank to microscopic levels. Dallas-Fort Worth faces crushing affordability concerns with high home prices and high interest rates, creating a perfect storm that's obliterating buyer pools. Year-over-year prices fell 3%, with values down 6.5% from peak, but the real carnage is just beginning in the Metroplex. The DFW area that attracted millions during the pandemic relocation boom saw that growth engine completely stall out. Corporate relocation slowed to a trickle as companies realized remote work eliminated the need for expensive Texas real estate. American Airlines cut routes and jobs. Energy companies downsized. The economic foundation supporting Dallas area home prices is cracking under pressure. Texas markets, including Dallas, saw some of the biggest year-over-year gains in new listings, but sales are absolutely cratering. Supply surged while demand collapsed, the classic recipe for price destruction. Tech layoffs hit Richardson, Plano, and Frisco especially hard. Companies that relocated entire divisions during 2020 and 2021 are quietly consolidating operations back to their headquarters cities. But here's what's really crushing DFW. Property taxes that were supposed to stay low thanks to no state income tax are exploding higher. Homeowners face reassessments that double or triple their tax bills overnight. Insurance costs doubled after recent tornado and hail damage. The affordable alternative to California just became unaffordable for most families. The transportation infrastructure can't handle the population they added. Commute times doubled. Roads crumble faster than they can fix them. The quality of life advantages that justified premium prices disappeared under traffic gridlock and suburban sprawl chaos. The Lone Star State's housing market ain't feeling so independent anymore. DFW's economic engine is sputtering, and home prices are about to crash harder than the Cowboys in the playoffs. Everything really is bigger in Texas, including the coming housing market disaster. Number 5. Tampa, Florida. Tampa Bay's housing market just experienced a financial tsunami that makes Hurricane Ian look like a light breeze. Prices plummeted 5% year over year and are down 6.7% from peak levels. This isn't a gentle market correction. It's economic carnage happening in real time, and Tampa homeowners are about to discover what true financial devastation feels like. Florida's insurance crisis hit the Tampa Bay area like a Category 5 hurricane of financial destruction. Property insurance premiums tripled, quadrupled, then became completely unavailable in flood-prone neighborhoods. Companies like Citizens Property Insurance, the state's insurer of last resort, hiked rates so high that monthly insurance costs often exceed mortgage payments. When insurance costs more than your house payment, the math doesn't work for anyone. Hurricane damage from Ian, Nicole, and Idalia proved that 100-year storms now happen every 2 to 3 years. Flood zones expanded dramatically. FEMA flood maps got redrawn, forcing thousands of homeowners to buy flood insurance they couldn't afford for homes they couldn't sell. It's a financial death trap disguised as paradise. New apartment construction flooded the Tampa market so extensively that builders expect zero rent growth for the next 2 years. When rental properties can't generate positive cash flow, buying investment properties becomes financial suicide. The rental market collapse dragged home values down with it like an economic undertow. Tampa's job market depends heavily on tourism, hospitality, and service industries that pay wages incompatible with current home prices. Restaurant workers, hotel staff, and retail employees can't afford apartments, let alone houses. The service economy that supports Tampa's lifestyle is collapsing because the workforce got priced out entirely. The Bay Area that was supposed to rival California's economy became a cautionary tale of climate risk meeting financial reality. Tampa's housing tsunami isn't finished. The biggest waves are still coming ashore. Number 4. San Antonio, Texas. The Alamo City's housing market just surrendered without firing a shot, and the carnage is spreading faster than wildfire through South Texas. San Antonio leads the entire country with 80 days average time on market and 5.9 months of supply. Numbers that scream buyer's market so loudly you can hear it from Houston. Prices dropped 2% year over year and are down 8.4% from peak. But those statistics barely scratch the surface of this market meltdown. Here's the devastating detail that should terrify every San Antonio homeowner. Pending sales collapsed 21% as buyers completely fled the market. That's not a slowdown. That's buyer demand falling off a financial cliff. The city recorded some of the biggest price reduction activity in the entire country as desperate sellers slashed asking prices, trying to attract non-existent buyers. But wait, it gets worse. San Antonio's economy depends heavily on military spending, healthcare, and tourism, all sectors facing budget cuts and reduced demand. Joint Base San Antonio employs thousands, but military housing allowances haven't kept pace with inflated home prices. When military families can't afford to buy homes in a military town, the market fundamentals are completely broken. The median household income in San Antonio barely reaches $55,000, but median home prices soared past $300,000. Basic math reveals the affordability crisis. Families need to spend over 60% of gross income on housing costs. That's not sustainable economics, that's a financial disaster waiting to happen. Corporate relocations that drove pandemic-era growth completely stopped. Toyota, Caterpillar, and other manufacturers aren't adding jobs like they promised. The business-friendly Texas narrative collapsed when companies realized infrastructure, workforce quality, and logistics costs outweigh tax advantages. Remember the Alamo? San Antonio's housing market wishes everyone would forget this financial massacre. The city that fought for independence just lost its economic freedom to unsustainable housing prices and disappearing buyer demand. Number 3. Miami, Florida. Miami's luxury playground just transformed into a financial graveyard where dreams go to die expensive deaths. The Magic City tops the entire nation with the highest months of supply and massive buyer leverage that's crushing seller hopes daily. Homes sit on the market for an average of 80 days, nearly triple the national average, while desperate sellers watch their equity evaporate like morning fog over Biscayne Bay. Miami prices have fallen nearly 18% since their peak in July 2022. Price per square foot dropped 3.9% year over year, and the decline is accelerating faster than a Ferrari on I-95. The foreign money, crypto wealth, and pandemic relocations that inflated this bubble? All gone, vanished like smoke from expensive cigars. The cryptocurrency crash devastated Miami's buyer pool. Tech bros who bought million-dollar condos with Bitcoin profits are now facing margin calls and foreclosure notices. FTX's collapse alone wiped out hundreds of millions in local real estate wealth. The Web3 companies that relocated to Miami? Most moved operations back to New York or Silicon Valley when reality hit. But here's where the story gets really dark. Foreign investment that propped up Miami's luxury market disappeared entirely. Russian oligarchs got sanctioned. Chinese buyers got blocked by capital controls. Venezuelan money got frozen by anti-corruption investigations. The international cash that made Miami's market artificially hot evaporated faster than ice cubes in August heat. Climate reality is finally hitting property values too. Sea level rise isn't theoretical. It's flooding streets during high tides. Insurance companies are refusing to write policies in flood-prone areas. The sunny place for shady people reputation is driving away legitimate businesses faster than it attracts new ones. From penthouse to outhouse, Miami's transformation is complete. The Magic City spell just broke, revealing the financial disaster hidden underneath decades of money laundering masquerading as real estate investment. Number 2, Austin, Texas. Keep Austin weird? Try keeping Austin affordable, because this tech capital just became the poster child for housing market destruction. Austin leads the entire nation in price carnage, down a devastating 23.2% from peak and falling 5.1% year over year. The typical home stays on market for over 2 months with 7.7 months of supply, creating a buyer's paradise built on seller financial ruin. Here's the brutal reality that Austin boosters don't want to admit. The tech capital of the South just got a reality check that makes the dot-com crash look gentle. Major employers like Meta, Google, Amazon, and Tesla all announced significant layoffs. The six-figure tech salaries that justified $700,000 starter homes? They're disappearing faster than breakfast tacos at South by Southwest. But wait, there's more economic devastation coming. Austin's population growth, the engine driving housing demand, slowed to levels not seen since the 1990s. California companies that relocated during the pandemic are quietly moving operations back as they realize Texas infrastructure can't handle their needs. The electrical grid fails regularly. Transportation systems buckle under pressure. Quality of life advantages disappeared under explosive growth. Home construction continued at breakneck pace even as demand evaporated, creating a supply glut that'll take years to absorb. New developments spring up everywhere, but buyer pools shrink daily. Luxury apartments sit empty, while builders desperately offer concessions. The rental market crashed so hard that investors are dumping properties at massive losses. Property taxes that were supposed to stay reasonable exploded higher as Austin ISD and other jurisdictions desperately try to fund infrastructure for population they added too quickly. Homeowners face reassessments that double their tax bills while home values decline. The worst possible combination for building wealth. The pandemic boom that made Austin the hottest market in America stabilized into the biggest housing correction in decades. Silicon Hills just became Silicon Valley, fake wealth built on unsustainable foundations that crumbled under economic reality. Keep Austin weird just became Keep Austin broke. Number 1, the California trifecta. California isn't just expensive anymore. It's becoming financially radioactive for anyone trying to build wealth through real estate. The Golden State's housing market is melting down simultaneously across multiple metros, creating a perfect storm of economic destruction that makes other state corrections look like minor hiccups. New listings fell 17% in San Francisco, with double-digit declines across San Diego, Riverside, and Anaheim. But here's the kicker. Those drops aren't because of strong demand. They're because sellers can't find buyers at any price. The numbers tell a story of complete market failure. San Francisco prices fell 10.7% from peak, Los Angeles down 2.5%, and San Diego down 2.6%. But those statistics understate the real damage because they don't capture the liquidity crisis destroying California real estate. The typical California borrower pays an extra $675 monthly if they tried to move today, creating artificial scarcity that masks underlying demand destruction. Here's the devastating reality. Property taxes through Proposition 13 create massive distortions where longtime owners pay pennies while new buyers face crushing tax bills. Insurance costs doubled, tripled, then became unavailable entirely in fire-prone areas. Regulatory costs add six-figure premiums to new construction. The business environment became so toxic that major employers are fleeing faster than residents during wildfire season. But wait, there's more economic carnage ahead. Crime rates in San Francisco, Oakland, and Los Angeles reach levels that make property uninsurable and unsellable. Retail businesses close permanently rather than deal with systematic theft. Tourism revenue collapsed as visitors avoid areas that look like war zones. The tax base erosion is accelerating as high earners flee to Texas, Florida, and Tennessee. So there you have it, the 10 U.S. housing markets where nobody is buying and where prices are set to crash hardest in 2025. If your city made this list, the writing's already on the wall. Affordability is gone, investors are gone, and the decline has only just begun. Don't get blindsided. Hit subscribe right now so you'll know which markets are collapsing next and where the opportunities will be when the dust settles.